start out tonight by asking you all two simple questions. The first question is, does everybody here like boobs? Yeah? Yeah? Good. Okay. Second question, is everyone here anti-cancer? Yes. Good. I suspected as much. But the reason that I ask is that two women in my family are breast cancer survivors. And even though it's a little early, that's a terrifying experience. And so I've been thinking about when I should get my first mammogram. Now, historically, the American Cancer Society has said that women should start getting mammograms annually at age 40. A few weeks ago, they told me that I had till I was 45. I thought that was a little strange, so I decided to figure out how that happens. Like, who just decides that these sorts of things change? So, for those of you who don't know, a mammogram is basically a big metal boob squashing camera. And American women collectively get about 39 million of these every year. Now, men in the room, maybe you're thinking that boobs are so perky and resilient. It can't be that bad. Meet the manogram and feel the fear that women feel whenever they go to get themselves screened for breast cancer. Anyways, back to the American Cancer Society. So as I said, I decided to do a little research about why these guys changed their guidelines to 45 being the age to get a mammogram. And the more I read, the more puzzled I became. Because the thing is, there is an absurdly large body of research on the effectiveness of mammograms. But the problem is, not much of it seems to match up with what the major breast cancer and women's interest groups are telling to women. So tonight, I have a list to share with you that I call 5 things a good feminist shouldn't tell you about mammograms. Number 1 is simple. Routine mammograms do not save lives. Let me repeat that. They do not save lives. Since the 1980s, cancer advocates and physicians have been telling us that early detection of breast cancer saves lives. We now know that improvements in breast cancer treatment have improved breast cancer survival rates, but that's not due to early detection through mammograms. In 2014, we actually published the longest and most rigorous study on mammograms to date that showed ultimately that there's no connection at all between mammograms and the decreases that we have seen in breast cancer mortality. Number 2, 1/3 of the breast cancers that are detected through mammograms will never kill you. Yeah, unfortunately, mammograms are really good at detecting something called DCIS, or ductal carcinoma in situ. This is an abnormality that almost never becomes cancer, but unfortunately, we still don't have any good way of telling whether or not it's going to be lethal. So instead, tens of thousands of women every year undergo unnecessary, painful biopsies, mastectomies, and surgery, all because a mammogram found something that might have never have actually hurt them. Imagine if every time you went to the dermatologist and they found a weird mole, he was like, you know what? We're just going to take the whole limb instead. Anyways, number 3, we now know that the majority of the discourse around mammograms was never really based in science. Many major cancer interest groups in the United States actually became pro-mammography before there was substantial evidence to support its use on a massive scale. Additionally, mammograms have been the image-based test that politicians have used the most to support women's rights and women's health issues. Thirdly, an entire industry has sprung up over breast cancer awareness products, campaigns, and fundraisers. None of these guys have much of incentive to talk about the downsides of mammograms. These days, it's really hard, impossible, to be a feminist and question mammography. Number 4, we waste $4 billion a year on false positive mammograms and overdiagnosis of breast cancer. That's twice as much as our country spent on refugee and migration populations assistance last year, and then also 3 times as much as we spent on foreign aid to South America and Mexico combined. Number 5, many other countries have found a better way. In Britain and Canada, they're beginning to phase out their breast cancer screening programs and really cutting them back. In Switzerland, they're cutting them out entirely. In the US, we're still telling women that they need to do this. Now, the problem with routine breast cancer screening is not that the mammogram doesn't work. It is a great screening tool for people with a definite history of breast cancer. But the problem is, the majority of women still think that getting a mammogram will prevent them from getting cancer. Cancer is really scary. I know that personally. But I also know that I want to have health care that will actually make me and my loved ones healthy. So, with that in mind, I have these proposals. How about, instead of using fear-mongering and scare tactics to pressure women into using mammograms, we ask doctors to definitely disclose all the harms and risks of mammograms to women? How about, instead of using a pro-mammography stance as a way of garnering the woman's vote, we demand that our politicians stop confusing access to a screening service with true feminism? And finally, how about we actually share all of the evidence on breast cancer with women, all of it, and allow them to make decisions about their own bodies? I love my breasts. I want to keep them. And though I still have about 25 years until I actually have to decide whether or not I'm going to get a mammogram, I want to make that choice for myself. Thank you.